Hi there, this is Ann and Hannah at For Better Forever, the place to be to create a lasting legacy of transformed lives. So we're all about leading from the inside out. Well, we want to talk today about why leaders need to show up in the storm. We say that leaders are like a light in the darkness, that leaders are a light in the midst of crisis.
That's right. And we have a local story that we'd like to share with you today. I grew up just down the road from a lighthouse. And so lighthouses are a key part of Prince Edward Island. In fact, when I was growing up, kind of a fun map that well, not really a fun map that I used to enjoy looking at, but it was a map of all the shipwrecks around the island, because there's a lot of dangerous waters and reefs. And so a lot of people before lighthouses were built on the island lost their lives around the island. And so this one story, though, tells of a young widow named Sarah McKinnon who became a lighthouse keeper at Shipwreck Point Lighthouse, quite the name, Shipwreck Point, from 1917 to 1922. And so she looked after this lighthouse. But one night, while she was looking after it with her young son, who was about 8 years old, the mechanism that for the signal light stopped working, but there were still some fishermen out at sea and there was a storm. And unless Sarah could figure out a way to get the light working again, she knew that they would most likely die.
That's right. And she is fully invested in this because her husband was a fisherman and he died at sea. She knew how important it was to keep that light burning and to keep that. The mechanism was the flashlight. And there were very specific flashes that allowed the fishermen to know where they were. It helped them to locate themselves in the midst of the storm. And that light was what saved a particular captain and his ship and all of his crew on that particular night, because Sarah stayed up all night and hand cranked out that light, Hannah. She saved that entire crew. And a short while later, she received a letter from the captain saying, thank you. Thank you. Because she stayed up all night and hand cranked that light out. She showed up in the storm. She was the light in the storm. She led with from where she was. And by the way, she had support too. Her 8-year-old son was her support. He kept her going. He brought her tea, he brought her food, and he kept her going throughout the night so that she could hand crank. Oh my goodness, she must have been tired by the end of that, Hannah. But she showed up in the storm, and that's what leaders do. Leaders show up in storm to help guide their people in the midst of the storm, just like Sarah did. Leaders do this by giving. Go ahead, Anna.
Go ahead.
Leaders do that by giving perspective, they give active hope, and they give security. And that's what we want to talk about next week.
In part 2, that's right. Because during a storm, that's when people need their leaders the most. When things are going well, it's easier to go from day to day. But when a crisis hits and everything changes overnight, like what is happening now with the coronavirus, that's when we need our leaders to show up and to help go the way and show the way, as John Maxwell says. So thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to read the rest of the blog post below this video. And we also wanted to share with you that we have a new mastermind coming up soon called Leading in Crisis. So whether you're leading in your home, with your family, whether you're leading an organization, or maybe you're leading a team remotely now, or maybe you're leading a church group or a volunteer group, wherever you're leading right now, one of the things you need to learn is how to lead through this crisis well and with integrity. You're going to need to learn new skills, because what has worked for you in the past is not necessarily going to work for you today with where we are. We can't control the circumstances around us right now, but we can choose how we show up and how we lead the people around us. So each week, we're going to be creating fresh content with practical leadership tips that will help you to navigate this unprecedented global crisis so that you can lead with integrity wherever you have influence. So be sure to join our weekly leaders letter to get this new content, as well as to hear when this new mastermind, Leading in Crisis, opens up for registration soon. So thanks so much for joining us today. Remember to lead from the inside out.